Greetings YouTube and welcome to my next build, which is actually not a weapon. I picked up this little camera mount at a yard sale for $3 2 years ago, or a year ago I think it was. And it was originally on this because originally it was a wall mounted unit for holding a security camera. And I love this thing. With this base on it, I could just clamp it anywhere I want it to go and I could then point it at things. So some of you may have seen the videos where I'm showing you doing stuff and the camera's nice and stable because I'm using this thing. The problem is that this is what held this together, and this is proud of this. So I couldn't, it would do this, and there was no way to get it actually flat like this. So I thought to myself, why don't I make a clamp? All right, so this is a 1/4-20. It's a little on the thinner side than I would have liked, but I can't change the fact that that's what that is. It's a 1/4-20, and I'm not going to ruin this, or I don't really have the equipment to remachine that and rethread it. So we're going to go with the 1/4-20. At least it's a common size, you know, that's handy. So here's the threaded rod I'm going to use. I did some measurements in my shop, and really the widest thing I have that I would clamp this to is 6 inches. So it really doesn't have to be open up any more than 6 inches. So I was thinking of using some of this as the clamping surface. So you're going to have this here. I'm going to put it, that'll probably be on the side. I'm probably going to put it like that, but at the moment that's in the way. So this is going to be mounted here, and there'll be a threaded rod holding this in place, and there'll be a nut on the other side. This will be threaded directly into this. There'll be a nut clamping that together. Then there will be a space. There will be another one of these, and then eventually there will be a 1/4-20 wing nut. I don't have a 1/4-20 wing nut at the moment. I'm going to have to get one of those. I was at a hardware store today too. I just didn't know what the threading was. If I'd known that, I would have picked one up. Kind of annoying. But so I'm going to need 2 pieces of this, and I believe I have at least one more full length of this, so I shouldn't have a difficult time procuring that. And I think I'm going to go with this, and seeing as I'm going to have the threaded rod is going to be about there, and I want to have the quote, I want to be able to actually have it to be kind of clamp shaped, because I want to be able to clamp it over here. When it clamps, I want it to have a little work. So you're looking at 3 inches. So I'm probably need 2 3-inch pieces of this, and I'm going to keep this thing whole because that makes it nice and sturdy and rigid. It's not going to be, you know, moving on me. I'm clamping. And realize I'm not using this to hold 2 things together, so the amount of clamp force is not going to be great. It's just going to be clamped 2 things. As long as it's clamped firmly enough to hold up its own weight, plus the camera I am currently holding, then we're good. And this will let me clamp this anywhere in the shop that I want to clamp it, which is bloody awesome. So this is going to have to end up being like 7 inches long. I'll give myself an extra inch, so you know, 6 inches is the widest I want to go. And the 2 pieces are going to be free-floating in the sense that the bottom section is not going to be in line with this. Like these kind of clamps right here, they all have a rectangular shaft, so that, see, you can see right here, the rectangular shaft, so that the 2 jaws are always in line. But again, I'm not using this as a quick clamp. This is just going to be to clamp the camera to an object. So it's going to be kind of like a pipe clamp. Pipe clamps don't line up with each other either, but they're still really useful. So that's essentially what I'm making is a very small scale pipe clamp. Just one that will let me clamp this to any object that I want to clamp it to. So first thing I'm going to need to do is cut 7 inches of this, cut 3 inches of that, and then go find the other section I need to make the second piece. Well, actually, I wouldn't need the second piece to be the same size, so I can go smaller, because the second piece is just the bottom. I'm using this one because it's wide, because it'll hold that quite comfortably. Yes, the bottom one doesn't have to be this size. I can make it smaller, which would make the whole thing lighter. Okay, yeah, so I'll get it. I know I have a number of different sizes of this in my shop, kicking around. And this is all free. This is all just stuff I found by the side of the road. It's bed frames. Awesome steel source. You can see them everywhere. I've even seen them for sale for like $6 at Savers. So yeah, really good source of cheap metal that lets you do all kinds of cool projects. Alrighty, so cut this into 3 inches, get another piece cut to 3 inches, and then we can start drilling the 2 holes that both pieces will need. I'll have to round everything off, deburr everything, make sure it's not going to be overly dangerous to me when I'm using it. And then it's a matter of assembling it, and unfortunately at the moment, just using a regular nut to be my clamping device. Again, I don't have a wing nut. I'll pick one of those up sometime next weekend probably. Because I don't feel like going back out to the hardware store. Maybe I feel like going back to the hardware store, I don't know. I may go out for a sub later. Maybe I'll stop at the hardware store first. Who knows? Alrighty. So this is the next project, so let's get the ball rolling. Slight change of plans. While I was looking for an offcut to another piece of this or something similar, I found this, which was a piece almost exactly the size I needed, which means I didn't have to cut it. I did have to square the ends up a little because they were a little side goggle in there. But it's all squared up, or at least as far as I'm concerned. I've got a scribe mark here. Now I need to put a punch mark so that I have two holes. Then I'm going to drill this, and I did not get around to cutting that because I got sidetracked. Sometimes that happens. So, yep, so two holes here, cut that, and then we're going to try assembling this thing and see if it works. It would be really spiffy if it did. Alright, some complications. So, I drilled it, assembled it, and I've discovered that it works best if this has an angle to it because it's tightening it up kind of like that when it's tightening. So this is could be coming in contact with the surface first. So I just put a bend in it. That wasn't a problem. However, I like round numbers. So the center of this is 1 inch. So I put it in 1 inch. Guess what that means? That this doesn't clear the end. So I can't tighten this in both directions. I can only tighten in one direction, which limits my flexibility, which I don't want. So what I need to do is disassemble it and then shave off about, I don't know, 1/4 inch off of this end. I'll just cut that off. And we'll re-round it and reassemble it and see if it works. But yeah, never goes smoothly. And here we have it, the completed item. Now that I can get this to freely move in either direction, front or back, this is much easier for me to use because this back here means the camera's not in my way while I'm tightening it down, so that's much more convenient. And this is down here, because of that bend, it's actually grabbing onto one of the ribs underneath this table here. So it is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Now you'll notice that the bottom clamp and the top clamp are not perfectly in line. I don't care. What I care is does it hold the camera securely so it's not going to fall down, and is it convenient? And the answer to both those questions is yes. So now I need to get a wing nut so I don't have to use a wrench, which is a little annoying, but it works. And so this will now let me move this camera that I'm holding and keep it anywhere I want in the shop. I can go off any beam, any table, anything I want to get an angle. I could even potentially go off a ceiling beam to go do a down angle. I'm not 100% sure how I would line that up because this does not have a flip screen. I can only see what I'm looking at right now through the screen in front of me, which is occasionally disconcerting. There's the screen I'm looking at that I'm looking at the object. Sometimes that juxtaposition can be slightly disorienting. It's kind of annoying. But yeah, this is now officially a functioning camera clamp. So there you go, folks. I made a project that actually wasn't a weapon. I'm going to put a still at the end of this, and that will be for this video as well as onto my DeviantArt and onto my Instagram, and which we should both follow me there because I store all of my stuff permanently on DeviantArt, and Instagram is where I put all kinds of interesting bargains and cat pictures and things like that, which I'm sure everyone will enjoy because who doesn't love a cat picture? So thank you for being here, and I hope you come back for the next one.